In the following hand review, we're going to be looking at how to play suited gappers from late position. By suited gappers, I mean hands like 10-8 or 9-7, with one card missing between them. In the following hand demonstration, I've been dealt the Jack-9 of diamonds while sitting on the button. The play is now on me. With a hand of this texture, I prefer to have 6 players in the pot. In this case, I feel that if I call, I'll get the blinds to also call behind me, and that'll create a 5-way pot. The deciding factor in this case is that I will have position throughout the hand. And as a result, I decide to call. This simple fold has created a situation where I'm playing a hand with a long-term negative result to my bankroll. That said, about all I can do at this point is play this hand to the best of my abilities. This is a pretty good flop for my hand. I have a flush draw combined with my 2 overcards. If we assume that the flush draw and the overcards are all good draws, then we can assume that I have 15 outs to this hand. The play is back on me, and I'm currently being offered a 5.5 to 1 pot odds, which is a pretty profitable call for my hand. That 5.5 to 1 pot odds comes from the fact that there's $9 in the pot. The middle position player is bet 2, so that's a total of $11, and it costs me 2 to call. So it's $11 for a $2 call, or 5.5 to 1. If I were to also call, I'd be offering the big blind behind me 6.5 to 1, or a $13 pot for a $2 overcall. A better play by me may be to raise. If I raise, I may be able to get the blind to fold and create a situation where if a jack or a 9 were to fall on the turn or river, my hand would still hold up. A raise may also buy me a free card and allow me to get to the river for free. I choose to raise with this hand. By raising, if the middle position player also calls, that's going to put a total of $17 in this pot, and it's going to cost the big blind $4 to call. So he's going to be offered 4 to 1 pot odds. So that's going to cut down the hands that he can play considerably. And then he has to worry that maybe the middle position player may re-raise. So I'm hoping by raising, I'm going to create a situation where I can play this hand heads up and possibly outplay my opponent on the turn. That 5 of spades on the turn has the potential to be a very dangerous card. If my opponent was on an 8, then I'd be drawing only to my flush draw. Thankfully, my opponent checks, and now the play is back on me. If I were to bet in this spot, I'm going to open myself up to a check raise, which would cost me 2 big bets to see the river because I'd be forced to call it with my flush draw. I choose to go ahead and take that free card I'm being offered. The river card's a very good card for my hand. We have a straight showing on board, but I hold a 9 for a higher straight. So we'll see what my opponent does. My opponent bets. Could he be holding a 9-10 for a higher straight? While it's possible, I don't feel it's too likely. As a result, I'm going to raise, since I believe that he's playing the board and trying to move me off a hand. And now my opponent calls. This was a major mistake made by my opponent. In this case, there was no profit in placing that bet on the river. In doing so, he has opened himself up to a re-raise that he felt that he would have to call. A much better play would be to simply check and then call if I make a bet. Low limit hold'em is a game of errors. In this case, my opponent made an error that I was able to capitalize on. Thanks for taking time to watch this hand review. This hand review was brought to you by JustinBaxter.com. We're the low limit home of poker players' tips, tricks, and strategies.